All right, welcome back to LaxCon once again.
What up, what up?
Thank you.
Where's the camera? Is that the camera?
That is the camera right there.
Hello.
And I am here with Marty Bose.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Marty Bose. Now,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
hey, no problem. So the reason why we have Marty on, not only is he a member of the Florida launch of the MLL, who had quite a season this year, might I add, making it in the playoffs. So great to see that. But he is also here in Baltimore as part of Team USA.
Yep.
Now, you're somebody that is really put a lot of energy into your indoor game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, kind of where that has come from? We'll jump into your field game too, but where does your love for the box game come from?
Well, I grew up in Boston, so I actually wasn't introduced to box until after I graduated from Hartford. It was in the Boston Box Lacrosse League. Randy Frazier, for those of you who know who he is, kind of took me under his wing, taught me a lot, continues to teach me a lot. So that was my first introduction to box. And then RIP Boston Rockhoppers, that was my first kind of pro,
we missed
quote
the
unquote.
Rockhoppers.
Right, yes.
We
missed the Rockhoppers dearly. So got some good experience there. I think there was like a rule in that league. You can only have a certain amount of Canadians on your team because they wanted to limit, right? Like, the advantage that would provide. And then from there, I've just had continuous effort to try to crack an NLL roster, and that's sort of been my box experience so far. But I can definitely speak to how much it's helped my field game, the skill set that is provided or necessary rather to be successful and score goals in box makes you significantly more confident in the field game in a number of different situations. And I think it's really helped me become more in tune with manipulating defenders and to get them to do what I want them to do to increase my chances. So, box is pretty cool.
I do find that interesting too, because in the MLL, you got into that league as, I believe, as a practice player with the Cannons, correct?
Correct.
Eventually cracked the roster as a D-Midi. Now, you're doing a little bit of everything, as well as your most recent tryout with the Black Wolves. You're up there as lefty forward.
Yeah, forward, for sure. I give that credit to box lacrosse, the fact that I've transitioned from, a strictly defensive midfielder role when I first joined the league to more of like a two-way player, sometimes even a strictly offensive player. But I think that's more personnel-based. In the MLL, it's a lot of matchups, and then, the coach has certain guys that he wants to get touches on the ball. Being a low draft pick and, not going to an ACC school, I wasn't a guy that they wanted to just be the offense right away, so I really had to chip away and earn those offensive reps. But again, big a testament to the box lacrosse game, giving me the skill set to add more value on that side of the field.
Right. One of the things with the box game that I love about your involvement especially is a lot of MLL players, they tend to get used to playing at a certain level. If they get a certain level of competition, they have their own performance standards. You're someone, you just love to play.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be serious.
That's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up because I think it kind of gets into the mental game where certain guys, I think, even at the professional level, and you see it at all levels, where they decide this is my game, this is what I do, and just kind of stick to that. There's something to be said for that, but there's also a lot of value in understanding you can make your weaknesses a lot stronger and you can make your strengths a lot stronger as well. And I think that mentality has helped me a lot. It's put me on the radar for some different coaches in the league, and I can definitely attest to that being a big part of my success so far.
Right, because I've seen you in pickup games. There's also, for those of you that were at the Lax All-Stars Invitational, or maybe you saw it online, maybe you didn't see it, but Marty with the Casey Powell World Lacrosse Foundation, the fourth place team from.
That was a long shot to get fourth place in that tournament. That was pretty fantastic.
But Marty,
motley crew, I like to say. We were But we had a lot of
your
heart.
performance in that game, not that game, but that whole tournament. When you talk about you use a lot of your defensive skills, you're a true transition player, and that a couple of those games you're a little short-handed too.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. There are some where you were doing a lot of minutes.
For sure. I think that tournament's been fantastic. I played in it the first year around with
you were with the Voyagers, right?
Vermont, right?
Yep.
And they didn't put a team in this time, so it just kind of got thrown onto the Casey Powell team.
Yep.
With some guys I knew, a lot of guys I'd never played with before, going against teams that had practiced, leading up to that. So that was interesting, little dynamic there. But, you guys put on a great event. That's like probably one of the most fun tournaments I play in. So, if not the most. So
I'll give a massive hat tip to Connor Wilson over there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because one of the things you mentioned, the teams that you were playing against, that your last game against the Redhawks, that game went right down to the wire.
Yeah.
And, there were a couple plays where, your experience with box as well as just your athleticism of, the field game that you have, you created some massive transition opportunities to go up against a defense that knows how to play team defense. They know how to stop transition, and almost through like sheer willpower, you had to get some of those points for your team.
For sure. It's again all dependent on personnel. I think within that team and that tournament, I knew I had to kind of be the guy in some regard. So I think that kind of helped me just kind of switch gears in certain situations and try to make the most out of what I had and sometimes make something out of nothing.
Right.
But frick, it's just so much fun, man. It's so much fun.
So speaking of roles, you're here, U.S. exhibition game.
Yeah.
It is happening tonight. You are
7
on the
p.m.
roster. You're going to be playing.
Yeah.
You've been doing some demos too today.
Yep.
So you've already had practice. It's been a full day. What are you really doing with this team? Have the coaches given you roles to try to fulfill? Are they asking you to do certain things?
Yes
or is
and
it
no.
much more to see what you can do?
I think it's more so to see what we can do. For me, and kind of back to Randy Frazier, he's one of my mentors. I had asked him, should I be a transition player? Should I be a forward? Should I try to do a little bit of both and show them I can, be dynamic? But I think I had sort of decided I would try to do both leading into this weekend. And what his advice to me was, pick a session to be an O guy and pick a session to be a D guy, especially when we're breaking off into different drills in the box game. There's really no switching back and forth. You're in a jersey, you're gonna get those reps consistently at that position.
Yep.
So his advice was to maybe play O this morning and try D tomorrow type of thing. But I had approached the coaching staff with that just to open up the conversation, and they replied with, "You're here to score goals." So that was kind of cool to hear, and that was my focus point this morning, and it's going to be my focus point today. Not to judge my performance strictly on how many goals I score. I think more of a kind of back to the mental game. I try to focus on getting good shots. And if they fall, they fall. So that's where my focus point is.
Right, especially in the Boston Box League, I'll give a shout out to Chuck and Randy.
Oh yeah.
One of the big things that they always talk about is looking for players that make those around them better. So you're playing with a lot of guys. They've never stepped into a box before this weekend.
A good amount of the guys this weekend, yeah.
So, you are in a position where you have to use the experience that you do have to try to pull up the guys around you and really make the unit better that you're on the floor with. Is that something that you feel that you are doing in the practice reps that you've had so far?
Definitely this morning a little bit. There's just certain situations. Not to name any, there's certain guys that are asking for help, right? They're out there and they're like, I have no idea what's going on. It can be hectic when you're, stepping into a box, especially with this intensity and the athletes that we have at camp this weekend.
Right, because there's real experience on that floor too. As much as we say, there's guys learning.
A very wide spectrum. But it's on both sides of the ball, right? You have low experience O guys going against some low experience D guys, and vice versa. So, but I think that's an interesting and kind of a cool concept for me, because this is actually my first time being a part of a Team USA event.
Right.
And I'm kind of already in a position to help other guys get better, just like you said. And I've tried to, in any situation I see something, I've tried to pull them aside and say, hey, next time you do that, try it a little bit differently, right? Angle your hips this way so you can maximize that angle you're getting after. So
Right.
It's definitely a big part of it. And we actually have some guys here. I think Roy Colsley, I believe.
Oh, yep.
He's
old Syracuse.
Literally,
grad.
I've just
Shouldn't
met him
say
yesterday.
old.
Yeah. He's 44 years old. Graduated Syracuse in 1995.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's
and
one
he's
name
out there
that
playing.
jumped out
Like,
on the roster. That's woo.
I think, I mean, he could have a great chance of playing in these games in 2019, but I think he's another guy that's here in order to help the younger players develop and see the game, that are so new to it. So.
And what has it been like being coached by this staff? I mean, there's so much experience there. Of course, Reggie Thorpe being the head coach. You got Schiller, they're helping out. Hobart's helping out. I mean, there's a lot of guys there that are really trying to coach you guys up. And you can kind of contrast that with the Black Wolves. Obviously, the years you've been there, there's been some fantastic coaches helping you guys out too. But the goal of each one of those staffs is a little bit different. The Black Wolves are trying to make a professional team. They already know most of the roster, and they're kind of playing with the pieces, and it's a tryout.
Yep.
Whereas USA, yes, it's a tryout, but they're trying to do a lot more too. How's your interaction been like with the coaching staff when you do go to them with options of
Well, I mean, one important factor there is I've just spent so much more time with the Black Wolves coaches. I think I've been able to pick up more from them. Like I said, this is my first event. It'll be interesting to get the in-game feedback tonight.
Yep.
To see how the coaches sort of maybe they take a step back and just see how we do, or maybe they're really engaged. So that'll be interesting dynamic this evening. But so far, like with the practice this morning, it was a decent amount of offense and defense separating, going over what our system is going to be, and trying to execute on that right away. So,
how much are they talking about the transition game? Because I know historically, U.S. lacrosse, they say that is their strength. Is you get these guys that can run, like let's run.
It's a good point. So, traditionally, and it's still very, very true, you get very good athletes in the Americans.
Right.
But with the Canadians and the Iroquois, you get guys that understand the game better than us.
Right.
And where they take advantage of us is literally in transition and in the subbing game, which are one and the same. So I think the focus point in transition has not been, hey, we're going to capitalize in transition. We're going to prevent as much as we can by really focusing on the sub game.
Try to get that early sub out the back door.
For me as an offensive player, reacting, right? Especially if I'm on the left side and I'm near the bench, that ball hits the turf or we're under 8 seconds in the shot clock, to just start getting off the floor to prevent those 4-on-3s, 3-on-2s. It's one of those things. It's like, as a player predominantly playing the field game, like I understand transition, but it's just such a different scenario that, I know why that's valuable, but it's the timing of reacting that is the adjustment.
Because transition and field, you're setting up that 4-on-3.
Right.
Everyone's looking for the rotation on defense. You got the quick passes on offense.
It's not in conjunction with subbing.
Whereas transition and box, you're looking at still odd numbers, but everybody's running in the same direction at the same time. Where the ball is changes it significantly with how that play is going to develop.
Yep. That, I mean, on top of that too, especially with the new guys, just understanding, should a lefty or a righty come out of the door first? Right? And who's cutting the middle? The first guy getting through, the second guy being that outlet for the defender. Like just simple things that are taught to youth box players. We don't know.
Right.
As a whole, right?
Right.
So those are, I think it's more fundamentally based right now to get the new guys just a little bit caught up to speed with some of the other guys. But I mean, it's just very interesting. You just, like I said, such a wide spectrum of experience that it makes it an interesting challenge for the coaches to bring the most amount of value.
All right. Well, Marty, I appreciate your time, of course, stepping on, and best of luck tonight with the tryouts.
Thanks,
and
man.
Hopefully we'll see you in Vancouver.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot.